Welcome to the Top Order podcast. In This Week in Cricket, Stu makes us talk about New Zealand versus Pakistan, and that's pretty much it on the agenda. So without any further ado, I push this button here and then throw straight to you, Stuart. New Zealand versus Pakistan in New Zealand, a bunch of white ball cricket. Talk us through it.
Talk us through it. Okay. How long have I got, did you say?
You've got a maximum of 25 minutes end to end, including the minute or so that I've just introed the show. So you've got 24 minutes to go.
Righto. So look, yeah, we're obviously right in the middle of our IPL coverage, and I've stolen a bit of time from Raj and Baldy here, basically just because I want this series is really, I think there's massive positives from this series. So look, we've had 8 white ball games across 5 T20s, 3 ODIs, and New Zealand's won it 7-1. And we've won it 7-1 with missing all our IPL players. Henry's been injured. Jameson's been managed his workload. We missed Will Young for a couple of those games. Mark Chapman missed the last two ODIs. And we've still just managed to convincingly beat Pakistan. And I suppose the big question I want to ask, I mean, you can hear, I've called this meeting here because I wanted to talk, I'm that excited about New Zealand, basically what New Zealand's done and what they're, you can call some of them fringe players, you can call it a bit of depth building in terms of some of the new guys we've introduced to the squad. How excited should I be? Do I need to temper my expectations? Were New Zealand fantastic? Or were Pakistan terrible? I don't know. You guys jump in.
Okay, well, let's talk about the strength of the opposition, because ostensibly Pakistan should be a very good match for New Zealand. I think New Zealand and Pakistan play each other more than any other combination in world cricket over the last 6 years.
We certainly have a lot because of the IPL. Often we'll go there and play.
And they'll come here and all the rest of it. So you guys are used to each other by now. Have we seen anything different from Pakistan in this series than series gone past from a performance point of view?
I definitely, we're very close to each other here. I like it. It's back to the old days. I thought that they were a little bit weaker, definitely on paper and on the score sheet, and then at the end of the day,
missing a couple of batters, Sam Ayub, Fakhar Zaman,
and also the direction that they went with the 2020. You know, it looks like a little bit of a clean sheet of paper for them going down those that route, leaving out Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan.
Yeah.
And then also there was Shaheen Freddie didn't play as much he didn't play at all in the one-day series,
Not
did he?
Not in the one-days, no.
So, I think there's a little bit of flux in that team. I don't know whether it's distraction off the field. That's the easy one to go with all the time.
Yeah.
But at some stage, the sort of performances have to do better. They got knocked out of their own Champions Trophy tournament before the playoffs, and then now they've come here and haven't really shown any fight. I don't think throughout most of the matches. I mean, they won one, sure, but I think that is a resounding loss to a team without a lot of their normal stars, I felt.
I think their fielding standards in particular were not great. In fact, there are words that I've used off air that I won't use on air, but they let themselves down in the field. Both their ground fielding and their catching let themselves down. They had bowlers that bowled really well in this series. I thought Naseem Shah, particularly in that last ODI, moved the ball and made a lot of the New Zealand batters look a little bit uncomfortable at the top of the order there. But they just didn't have enough support for performances like that throughout the series. They got themselves into some situations in some games where they were competitive against New Zealand, but then weren't able to wrestle any advantage or other than the one game that they won, I guess, weren't able to take advantage of any competitiveness in the series. And I think their bowling let them down. They bowled way too many extras. And
almost a record, I think.
Yeah, they were a lot. And even if they fixed it up a little bit in that last game, they were still bowling a lot of balls down the leg side. So, I mean, we talk about the same things with Pakistan all the time. They've got young players with lots of promise. They've got superstar players who don't quite step up and deliver match-winning performances. And I think Babar Azam will come in for criticism in a lot of different circles for his efforts in this series, getting good scores, but never quite going on to win games for his team.
I don't expect him. I expect him now to get 50 and get out. I mean, maybe that's harsh. I don't want to waste my time talking about Pakistan.
You've got a limited number of minutes, so let's get on to New Zealand.
I'll lead you into that. Baldy's talked there about some performances, that win that they did have. That was on the back of individual brilliance, right? There was an incredible 100 by Hassan Nawaz, that 100 he scored in the Auckland 2020. And he just took that game by the scruff of the neck. But they seem to be missing that, those performances on a regular, consistent basis. However, if you look at it from a New Zealand perspective, we did have a few new guys, but we had a few guys that have been around or in the wings for a long time.
Yep.
They finally got their chance to be in that first choice bowling lineup or that top 5, and they have. I thought they played really well. Come on, we need to start a timer.
Yep.
You can go, Stu.
Well, yeah. Let's focus on those guys to start with, because I think that the two. Well, maybe there's 3 actually, because I think that if you want to look at just the T20s, we're looking at Tim Seifert's return and just how well he performed. Coming back in. He was able to, player of that T20 series, just got us off to flying starts and did so well that he performed to the degree where someone was missing from the ODIs. Chapman's left out and Tim Seifert comes in because they're like, well, look, you've done so well that now you're in. He, I think, is now fully in the mix for the next 12 months in terms of our 12-month cycle towards the T20 World Cup. He's, Finn Allen came back in, Jimmy Neesham. Suddenly, there's a few players back in that T20 mix, and Seifert was the one that went, okay, like I want this spot at the top of the order. I'm playing all these franchise leagues, I'm doing this other stuff, but I'm here and I'm ready to go. On the ODI side, and on the T20 side, Jacob Duffy is another one who just. I want to give him a massive amount of credit for someone who's been around for, 10, 12 years in the first class scene, maybe even slightly
he started
longer.
when he was like 17 or 18 or something.
Yep. Came onto the scene. We interviewed him in 2020, I think, end of 2020, and he was making sort of, self-deprecating jokes that people were making on the first class scene to him about being a first class battler. The way he has improved over the last 12 months, I would say, the fact that he's up at 140 clicks regularly now, he's hitting that mark. He was swinging the ball really nicely, moving it off the seam, and taking wickets when they mattered. He became the strike bowler for us, and for us, in a side that's got O'Rourke and Sears and those other kind of players in. So I think he's certainly someone who now, Nathan Smith was given an opportunity at Test level. So was Ben Sears. Duffy is now someone who's saying, I'm good in, I can bowl 140 clicks here. I can play all formats of this game. And then Mark Chapman is the other one who I think, I would say the last 12 months of Mark Chapman, every time he's been given proper opportunities, I think he's now stepping up. And we're seeing, funnily enough, most of them are against Pakistan. And people always say, Mark Chapman, everyone was saying the Champions Trophy, we're in Pakistan. We've got to pick Mark Chapman because he does so well here. But really, those have been his only opportunities. And I think the only other times we've seen him have been down at 6, 7, sort of coming in, trying to close in innings. And I don't think that's his best skill. And Raj, maybe I'll throw back to you for Chapman, because I know you've always liked him. I feel now genuinely that he is someone that we almost need to give him a go. Like, I feel like he's now earned that. I don't quite know how you do it. I was naming guys before to Baldy, and you look at, we had Will Young, we got Rachin Ravindra, we got Devon Conway, Kane Williamson. I think now that Chapman has to, his spot is at 3 or 4. I don't know how you do it with all of those guys in the mix, but I feel like he's deserved it.
Yeah, and we don't want to leave out Glenn Phillips.
Well, yeah.
He's in the mix all the time.
Mitchell.
It's actually a real shame with Mark Chapman missing out on the final 2
Yeah.
ODIs. He looked like he was ready to sort of jump and pounce on that opportunity. The 132 was exceptional. I thought
It was a class innings.
Very, very good innings. I don't know what more to say. I've always liked Mark Chapman because he has more strings to his bow. He doesn't just bat. He's great in the field. He can roll the arm over as well if required. That's why I like him now, team. He adds balance and he adds value all the way through a game. But look, now he's starting to put performances back to back, scoring runs. I don't know what else we could ask from him at the international level. He is doing it. Unfortunately, he is behind a lot of these players. And, I've mentioned Glenn Phillips there. He's also behind players where he wants to be in the top order. So there is a little bit of a real battery of batsmen that we've got there at the top of the order.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I'm excited about. Okay, it was Pakistan who weren't at their best, but now it feels like we actually have this core of good players that have been around for a while now, and when they come in, they step up. They step up to that level. And, we're also seeing it with some of those young guys. The Muhammed Abbas comes in, fastest 50 on debut. We saw Mitch Hay sort of finally show us, I think on a previous episode I'd said to you guys, he's not quite doing enough for me yet. That was a really important, valuable innings that he played. Started off slow, but then took 45 off his last 15 to get up to 99 not out at a time when we were in trouble. And then Rhys Mariu comes in. There's been huge noise about him. I actually went back and listened those same sort of 2020 interviews when we were during COVID, and we interviewed Cole McConkey. And at that time, I remember he name checked him back in 2020 and said, "Look, there's this young kid coming through." And at the time, he actually said, he bats in the top order, but a bit of a dasher, and he bowls leg spin. And Baldy was like, "Young leg spinner,
I'm all over it."
Yeah, I'm all over it. I think those were the exact words you said. I'm all over it. So I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me what you thought of some of those young guys, because I have been trying to follow those guys through the Plunket Shield seasons the last couple of years, and Mario certainly has had a stunning season this year. Tell me what you thought of those guys.
The Mitchell Hay innings was one of substance, and it was one that New Zealand really needed in the context of that game, because Pakistan had their noses in front, I think, at that point. It's probably fair to say. And his innings proved that he is capable, when he has opportunity, that he can take it. What remains to be seen is whether or not he continues to take it on a consistent basis, and that is what will nail him into that one-day side going forward over the next 12 to 18 months. Because with the resurgence of Seifert and the question marks around Tom Latham's longevity in the white ball formats, because you would imagine he wants to play Test cricket for as long as possible, right? Particularly as he's got the C next to his name at the moment.
Yep.
So that wicket-keeping spot for me is up for grabs in both white ball formats. And
maybe in the tests.
And maybe even in
Blundell.
the tests at some point. We've talked about the Blundell position quite a bit. So it's really important now that Seifert has re-emerged, I should say, because it was, 6 years since he last played ODI cricket for New Zealand? I think it's the longest break between ODIs ever, something like that. There's some weird stat about...
Yeah, I think he must have played T20s within that
interim,
time.
Between ODIs, it's a long time. And he's only 30 now, so he's got a lot of time left in the New Zealand setup if he continues to perform well. So it is on Mitch Hay, who's now the incumbent, to continue to perform consistently to keep his spot in the team, because he's going to come under pressure.
Yeah, just on Hay, I have, his performances have been a little bit sporadic. He got that 40-odd against Sri Lanka when there was a little bit to do. Got the 99 here when there was a little bit to do. That is promising for me, that he is not just that fair weather cricketer that comes out and jumps on the back of a bit of a platform. He has done the hard yards and he has, scored runs. I need to see that consistency because of the place he's batting. He is going to come in many situations where he's going to need to finish an innings off more prominently, and I haven't seen him do that. That 41 against Sri Lanka was very good. I remember watching that and thinking they had broken out of his shell. From a other player's perspective, I didn't see enough of Mariu. That was innings yesterday. 52 was good. I haven't seen enough of his innings to give you the eye test.
Yep.
The one that really sort of stuck with me though was Muhammed Abbas.
Yeah.
I think that he is an incredible talent for the future. I'm not sure about his bowling. He looks like me bowling in the nets, just getting a little bit of pummel, bowling some batsmen into form. But he did get wickets.
He did.
He picked up wickets when
and he was our fifth bowler in a couple of those ODIs. They backed him.
But I think as a batsman, he shows some real promise for the future. And these guys we talked about, even Hay is 24 at the moment. Like, these guys have got a long run here. We've got a really young core, along with Raj and Ravindra, that we could see something special with if we could get them to play together well all the time, consistently.
Oh, I love Abbas. He had power. He hit all round the ground. He looks like a genuine talent. And as you say, at 21, 22, he's got potentially a long international career ahead of him.
I think on him and Mario, actually, I think it's the confidence that really struck me. For Muhammed Abbas, I think early on in his innings, he runs down, takes a step down the wicket to Naseem Shah and hits him over extra cover for 6. It's like, okay, like I'm 21 years old, but I'm not daunted by the fact that Naseem Shah is actually like a quality bowler.
He bowled well,
and I'm not worried about doing this.
He bowled well, and I think Rhys Mariu's innings where Naseem Shah was bowling well to everybody, and he certainly had Nick Kelly looked like he was a bit of trouble, and other batters as well.
Yep.
Rhys Mariu, I think, navigated that as well as anybody could, I think, in that early spell, particularly from Naseem Shah, and then took full advantage. I mean, he didn't go on with it and get a big score, but I thought that was very impressive for a young fella to be able to come in and negate a bowler who was bowling a really good spell at him and not give the game away at that situation. Right. Bowlers, Any other bowlers that you want to talk about? What else have you got from a bowling stocks perspective? We talked about Duffy. Can we just talk about O'Rourke?
You can talk about O'Rourke for as long as you like.
Look, the only thing I want to say about Will O'Rourke, who has been superb for New Zealand over the last 18 months, is someone needs to get in his ear and tell him that the fast bowling cartel code still exists and that you don't have to bowl bouncers to opposition tail-end fast bowlers, particularly when they're Pakistan bowlers and they can bowl quick. I think he bounced out Harris Ralph. I think he bounced out one of the other guys.
Well, luckily his batters did the job and he never had to come out to the crease.
I know, but I think someone should just take him aside and say, look, it still exists. Will,
I really liked, obviously, Ben Sears is the one that his name's up in lights at the moment. He got those 2 5-wicket bags, and then that second half he looked to be bowling aggressively and quick. I really liked it. I also really liked Bracewell, his spin bowling. We haven't seen much of it here in New Zealand. Definitely we've seen more sort of with a red ball overseas, but without Mitchell Santner there, I thought he really stood up and he bowled really, really well. And
I agree.
His batting, his fielding, that catch he took yesterday, that diving catch, he adds so much to our team as an all-rounder, another one that adds value all the way through the chain. So I really liked those bowlers. I do have a question for you, Baldy. I'm going to prompt you like a little bit of AI. As an Australian, what do you make of Tim Seifert, Finn Allen, Jimmy Neesham coming back into the side without contracts for the 2020 with even steadier? I'm not sure if it was one of the selectors said we have our eye on the 2020 World Cup. These are the guys that we see that could be part of the team going forward. What do you make of these uncontracted players coming in?
I don't mind that he's given them a go. I think I didn't see much from Finn Allen that makes me think that he's a much, much better option than Abbas or than Ravindra or than some of the incumbents there. So I don't think he furthered his cause particularly in this series for mine, just from what I saw.
I liked the fact that he played second fiddle. He was prepared to play second fiddle at times. I did like that. Yep. The one small thing that, I
completely agree with you there. I think New Zealand will benefit from having experience and leadership at that T20 World Cup. And I think that Jimmy Neesham could potentially provide that for New Zealand, even if he's not a member of the matchday squad in all situations. I think having him in the 15 as a veteran leader in that New Zealand setup, particularly if they take Rachin and if they take Abbas, if they take young players to that T20 World Cup, then having him potentially in there as a steadying influence could be important. Right?
I think it'll be, the all-rounders you're talking about is going to be, Santner, Bracewell, Phillips, Rachin. In terms of, it's in India, Sri Lanka, we expect that there'll be spin utilised again. So, it'll be whether they want, I almost think Neesham's going to have to play in that side almost as a specialist bat, not like if he wants to earn a spot, which does make it tough for him.
It does.
He does have the biggest social media following, though, I think, out of all those in the squad. Important, I think. The one rebuttal I'll have on Finn Allen is that, again, well, it's a rebuttal and a sort of agreeing with you. When he comes off, we win. That 50 off 20 that he got. When he comes off, we win. If he goes out there and helps us get to 100 off not many overs, we win. Yeah. It's just one of those cards that are we willing to tolerate the failures that come along the way and how many of those that there are to have those performances, because we win.
Well, and I think that was what was interesting about New Zealand's batting lineup in that T20, to have Seifert and Allen, who were both prepared to just go. It was a bit of a departure from what our T20 side has been since Finn Allen was there. What we have done since then has been more measured. And then they went, okay, well, we're going to bring these two guys in, let them go for it and see what happens. And it worked brilliantly. So, yeah, I think, to your point, all of the stuff has it's given us a big pull, and actually now a lot of players to think, what are we going to do here? We actually have it feels like we have some options.
You've got massive questions to ask, good questions to ask in the next 12 months, and what does that next 12 months look like for New Zealand cricket between now and the T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Nice if we do the fixtures.
I think they're starting to filter out. So we do have I think it's a T20 series, tri-series against South Africa and Zimbabwe in July, maybe. Yep, mid-July, I think. And then we play 2 tests against Zimbabwe. So those 2 tests will be fascinating because the tests in particular, because there'll be no Williams. The guys that are playing 100 and county cricket and stuff, I'm not sure if they're all going to be available. I don't think Kane is. So that might be the time where Mark Chapman gets an opportunity. Again, it might be a time where they say, look, Tom Blundell, you haven't had that great a season in first-class cricket, although, again, scores 100 in the last Plunket Shield round like he did in his test those 3 tests against England. So maybe maybe he has done enough to keep his spot, but who knows? Maybe it's a chance to say, Mitch Hay, why don't you just come in here? So what they do there, who knows? But then once we get to that home summer, I think it's main. I think I saw something like it's 16 T20s, 5 ODIs, and 3 tests against the West Indies. So it's very much leading towards. Then we go in January. We go to India and play Afghanistan as well over there in T20s, ODIs, sort of leading up to that T20 World Cup in February and March in India and Sri Lanka. So it's going to be a big white ball focus over the next 12 months. And yeah, there's going to be. I imagine we're going to see a lot of different guys playing some of those games, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's really exciting to see that.
I think it is exciting because going into the previous T20 World Cup, I think New Zealand had some questions about who their 13th, 14th, 15th players would be and weren't quite sure who would be at the level of being, capable of slotting into the 11. Now, I think you're going to have very good players missing out on selection for that T20 World Cup, particularly if you take a bolter. Particularly if you take a Muhammed Abbas, particularly if you take even, Seifert or even Neesham, any one of those guys are going to mean a good player misses out. And now we're starting to look at, players like Devon Conway and really asking the question, is your form warranting a continued place in the side? Because the guys that have come in and played for New Zealand in the interim have done a terrific job.
Can I make one more New Zealand related point to finish?
You can if it's international.
It's not international, but it relates to a beloved international player. I just want to say a big shout out, and you must have been excited, Raj, to see the Fairytale finish.
I'll allow this. Yeah.
Fairytale finish for Wags. I mean, that was just tremendous. That he goes and takes 5 for in his last game here in New Zealand in first class cricket for ND. Takes 5 for, but what it doesn't say on that sheet is he took 5 for and also hurt someone with a bouncer. There's wickets which. It actually looked quite nasty. I hope Andrew Hazeldine is all right because it did look like quite a nasty blow. But yeah, for him to bow out, played all those seasons of first class cricket here, hadn't won the Plunket Shield, and then to go in, ND needed to win that game and does it. Yeah, fantastic because we all know he didn't kind of get the Fairytale finish that he wanted in international cricket, but it's lovely to see him go out, and I think he's off to Durham now to. Play a season of county cricket over there, and then who knows? He's been on the radio comms, the last, or it certainly was for the Bay Oval game, and so maybe that'll be his future. There's a lot of people talking up his chances of playing some club cricket, but he seemed to be playing it down yesterday on the radio, but who knows?
Oh, he'd always have a spot here on the Top Order podcast if he ever wanted to reach out and get some media experience, unpaid, Neil, by the way, as are we. It must be pointed out. So thank you, Stu, for indulging us for 20 to 25 minutes on
thank you guys, really.
On New Zealand, mostly international chat, but it is good to see Neil Wagner go out a winner as he deserves to be. That's all we have time for this week on This Week in Cricket on the Top Order podcast. Stay tuned for our IPL coverage coming up in your feed very soon.